Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 22 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Wilson Matthias. Wilson, thank you so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day like Wilson, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. All right. So when we left off yesterday, there was a lot of game talk happening, alliances forming, speculation about Cody's nominations, and things have not slowed down a bit. My brain is going to explode. So let's just dive right in. Day and Janelle were chatting in the key bedroom, and they agree that they want to work together. In the words of Day, they are down for the cause. So Day says, I haven't really been hearing your name. I don't think that you or Keesha were really on Cody's radar, so you might have wasted your VIP passes, but, like, the way that you did it with just the two of you competing and nobody else, like, that was really smart. So, like, either way, you were both going to be safe. And we know that that's not the case. Like, Cody was definitely planning on putting up at least Keesha, if not Janelle at some point. Maybe post-veto, I don't know. But they were in danger. Day also says that she thinks that Cody might put up two guys because she hasn't really seen him talking to them. What is going on here? I don't think that Day is, like, lying to Janelle. It's weird because, like I've been saying, Day usually has it all figured out. She's really perceptive and she can usually suss out, like, who's working with who and all that stuff. But this season, something is just off for her. I don't know if maybe, like, we're not used to seeing week one feeds with her and maybe it takes, like, a week for her, like, spidey senses to kick in. But it's rough, man. It's rough. So, Janelle shares, like, why she decided to compete in the safety competition. She was getting really weird vibes from Cody. He was telling her and Keesha different things than he was telling everyone else about, like, his plans for nominations. So then they start discussing Nicole F. and how they feel she's very close with Cody. And the whole, like, I feel like I might be going up on the block is all an act. And they're very leery of her. They think that, you know, she's been close with Cody for years now and they're working together. So Day says one thing that really bothers her about Nicole is she never thanked her for her jury vote after season 18. Wasn't Day, like, the tie-breaking vote that gave the win to Nicole? Never thanked her for it until they got into this All-Stars house. So why are you doing it now? Because, like, you need something? It's kind of weird that it took years for her to thank her, but okay. So then they were also talking about how they both like Christmas and Bailey and you, Nicole A. And neither of them have really talked to Danny much. They like her. They feel like they want to work with her, but they haven't really gotten to talk to her much, which is so weird because you would think that Janelle and Danny would be, like, super close, but nah. And it seems like Janelle wants to work with Danny and wants to trust her, but Danny, no. She's already been throwing Janelle's name out there. So Day was really surprised to hear that Danny and Nicole F. are really good friends in real life. So look out for that in the game. But Day was saying she wants to get a group of ladies together in a room to discuss, you know, potentially forming some sort of girls' alliance. So she's thinking, like, obviously herself, Janelle, Christmas, Bailey, and Danny. Don't tell Danny, she's gonna ruin it. We all thought that Nicole F. would be the one, like, selling out a potential girls' alliance, and, like, she probably would. But also Danny is gonna blow this. So meanwhile, Danny and Enzo are chatting in the lounge, and Enzo's like, yeah, you're good with me, I'm good with you, I love your dad. So Danny didn't really have anything to say about that. But anyway, Danny's telling him, you should be really careful because if people see you with Cody too much, they're gonna think that there's a guys' alliance forming. You know, everybody knows about the brigade and how you started that and how successful it was, so they're gonna be looking for you to set up something like that this season as well. And Enzo's like, yeah, I'm not trying to make another brigade. He says, that was season 12. Like, I'm doing my own stuff, like whatever. I'm doing other things this year. So then Danny's asking him, what is Cody thinking for nominations? Have you heard anything? And Enzo says, well, Cody was saying maybe Kevin because he doesn't really want to ruffle any feathers. And Danny's like, oh, good to know. So she also brings up the potential alliance of 4, which would be her, Enzo, Cody, and Nicole F. And Enzo likes it. I mean, he's already heard about it at this point from Cody, and he's on board. So they also agree, yeah, it's a good idea to kind of pull in Tyler and Memphis, but keep them more on the outskirts of the alliance. Don't bring them in fully, but keep them close and use them when they can. So Enzo says he's going to check in with Nicole F. Cool. Okay. So then Kevin came into the room, and he is asking them about nominations and like, what do you think it's going to be? And Kevin's like, I think maybe some combination of like Memphis, Keesha, or David. They were just talking about how Kevin's going to be going up on the block. And now he's coming in here like, hey guys, who do you think's going up? But he does mention he could possibly be in trouble himself because he hasn't gotten any like reassurances from Cody. So, yeah. All right. So then a little later, Janelle and Nicole F. were chatting in the lounge. Oh boy. This is just like a highly anticipated conversation because we know that Janelle is not falling for the crap that Nicole is not close to Cody. And we know that Nicole has said she is scared shitless by Janelle. So anyway, Nicole says she's actually on decent terms with Cody. So he probably wouldn't put her up. And she's also like, you never know. You know, anything could happen. But she also says, like, I wasn't crying because I thought I was going to go up. Yeah, we know. You were crying because you wanted Janelle to go up, and then she was safe because of Kaser winning the safety suite competition. So, yeah. So then Nicole says to Janelle, I will never go against you or put you up on the block. I'll just try and get somebody else to do it. She didn't say that part. But Janelle reciprocates. She says, you know, you're good with me, and nobody knows what good friends we are. Nobody knows that you invited me to your wedding. Oh. So Janelle tells Nicole, like, don't talk about it. People don't need to know that. But I feel like even if they are good friends on the outside, I don't think Nicole wants Janelle to stick around for too long. Also, I'm pretty sure they're lying to each other. This is not going to be, I don't see this being a lasting working relationship this season. But then they were talking about the amazing race and Rachel and how much she wanted to be there even though she's pregnant. And I guess Big Brother was like, no, you can't be on this season. I'm sorry. That's so sad. But meanwhile, Kaser and Bailey had an interesting game chat on the Sky Bridge. I like this. They were talking about the safety competition, and Kaser's like, I'm not an idiot. I know that Cody was coming after me, so I had to do that. Kaser was also saying he wants to keep Bailey close because he feels like she's smart, athletic. She's the whole package. And Bailey's like, yeah, I like you too. You can be like my BB mentor. Yeah. I will say, though, I feel like sometimes, as much as I love Kaser, sometimes the way that he talks to people can sound a little bit condescending in a way, which I hate because I love Kaser, but I think he could work a little bit on his, like, bedside manner. And I'm not talking about, like, specifically in this conversation, but, like, in a bunch of them. So anyway, they both like Janelle, of course, Davon, of course, and they actually both really like Nicole. Why not? So Kaser was asking Bailey, like, how close are you with Davon? Like, are you guys super tight? And Bailey admits, yeah, we're solid. Good. So Kaser tells Bailey, don't tell anyone, not even Day. I want you to know that Tyler, Cody, and David are working together. And he's sort of right, because, I mean, Tyler and Cody definitely, but David keeps getting lumped in with these guys, and he's not getting the benefit of actually working with them. So it'll be interesting to see if he ends up getting pulled in just because he's being grouped with them so much anyway by other people. Because sometimes that happens. But I'm also wondering, is this some sort of test? Is Keesha trying to test Bailey and see if she's going to spread this information around? Because then he was talking about, like, controlling the flow of information. And of course, we know on a show like this, information is one of the greatest forms of currency. So there's all that stuff. So I don't know. Maybe he's testing her. Maybe he's trying to just gain her trust by telling her this. But you know what? I kind of hope she does tell Bailey about... I hope that Bailey does tell Davon about this information, because Davon is in the dark at this point, and she needs some info. So Day and Keesha were chatting in the bathroom area. They're talking about nominations, and Day is thinking maybe it could be Memphis and Ian going up on the block. And Keisha's like, I don't know, I have a gut feeling that I'm going to be going up. So Day's like, I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense for you to go up. And Keisha's like, yeah, but it's not like it's a personal thing. It's just, he's got to put up 2 people, and nobody's really, like, done anything wild and crazy at this point to warrant going up. So, it's just, you know, I'm one of those people he hasn't really formed a relationship with yet. So... yeah. All right. So then Danny and Cody are chatting in the living room, and it looks like she's for real about this Danny, Nicole, Cody, Enzo alliance, because let me tell you, she's been spilling like every grain of info that she's been getting to Cody and Enzo and Nicole, obviously, but mostly to Cody. I feel like she wants to be closer to Cody than Nicole is. So she's just given like every ounce of information. So she lets Cody know, I talked to Enzo. He's down with this whole alliance thing. It's really great. He seems to really like you. And then she's like, I also talked to Davon. And Day is really scared about a guys alliance forming. So make sure you're being really careful about that. You don't want to be seen hanging out with the guys all the time. Why are you doing this? Why? So she's also telling him we need to be especially careful with Tyler and Memphis when we try and pull them in, because we don't want that to, you know, trigger people. All right. So then, you know, they're kind of chatting with other people that are coming in and out of the room, because again, they were in the living room. So it's kind of Grand Central in there. But anyway, when they're alone again, Cody confirms that he is putting up Keesha and Kevin. He has no idea what he's going to say. So Danny's like, just say something nice. You know, this is probably the easiest thing to do. It's going to have the least amount of repercussions. So just go for it. So then Kevin pulls Cody aside to talk in the storage room. And you can tell Kevin is very emotional right now. He seems nervous. He keeps pulling out his chapstick and putting it on like 5 million times. I feel that. I'm a chapstick addict. But Kevin says, okay, my original season, I had a really hard time connecting with people who were different than me. And he says he gets really intimidated. He wants to establish a relationship with Cody, but it's hard for him because, you know, Cody's like the jock cool guy and Kevin feels like an outsider. So he tells Cody, I feel like you're so perfect and kind and nice, and I feel like I've never been that person. Oh, Kevin. That makes me so sad because he's so awesome. But Kevin starts crying and Cody feels awful. He's like, is this something that I did? And he's like, no, this is just my insecurities. So Cody gives him a hug. He's telling him, don't get in your own head because that's just like not what the situation is right now. And Cody says, like, this week is really difficult. We're only a few days in. So I don't even know what I should be basing these nominations on. He doesn't know what to do. I think this would have been a good time to give Kevin a heads up that he was probably going up on the block. But Cody decided not to do that. So then after this conversation, Cody goes back to the HOH room alone and he seems very upset. I mean, there was like a few minutes at least where he was just sitting there like, he says like, I feel so bad. So he's really feeling it right now. I think he likes Kevin, but at this point, like, who's he going to put up? So Kaser and Keesha have a little strategy chat, and Kaser's asking her, how close are you with Memphis? And she says, honestly, like right now, not that close, but he did say he wants to talk at some point. They have that history. They're on the same season together. And if you guys didn't see season 10, they actually worked together with Dan like the whole game basically. And then Memphis single-handedly voted Keesha out at the Final Four. So it was a little bit, there could be some bad blood there potentially, but this is a new game, so who knows. But, she seems willing to work with him again. So Kaser's like, you should pull him in. Make sure he doesn't turn, because he could be a really great ally for us. Kaser wants the 4 OGs to work together. So him, Janelle, Keesha, and Memphis. And Keesha says she wants that too. And Kaser confirms that Janelle is on the same page. So Kaser's like, the others, like Cody and all them, are trying to get you out so they can pull in Memphis. And that is exactly what Danny has been planning. So Kaser wants to make sure that Keesha and Memphis are both going to be safe this week, but it's going to take a lot of cooperation, and it's also going to put a huge target on that group of 4. I mean, they already have huge targets as it is, so you kind of have to decide, like, are we already in trouble enough that we just go for it, make a bold move, or do we kind of sit back and just, like, look out for ourselves? So it's tough. But Kaser suspects that Kevin will go up next to her on the block, and he actually thinks that Kevin might have been offered a deal to be a pawn this week, which is not true. But Kaser's like, yeah, if Kevin cries, don't fall for it, because he probably knew he was going up. So then they have the nomination ceremony, and as planned, Cody put Keesha and Kevin up on the block, but Keesha was the one crying. Aww. So she's like, I knew it was coming, but at the same time, it hits you, So just for the record, too, Cody did not tell Kevin or Keesha that they were going up before the nominations. But he did have one-on-one conversations with both of them after. And he basically told them, like, the same stuff. It's nothing personal, just going off of who I've bonded with so far. And just because you're nominated doesn't mean that I necessarily want you to go this week. However, he did say something to Kevin that he did not say to Keesha. He told Kevin, if the nominations stay the same after the veto, I will tell people that I want you to stay, that I don't want you to go home, aka vote out Keesha. So interesting. He didn't say that to Keesha. So then Danny was chatting with Unicole on the Sky Bridge, and this freaking podcast, man. Danny apologizes for ghosting Unicole about the podcast. She's like, yeah, I was worried that I would get in trouble because I was already in talks to come on this season, and, she didn't want to have the plug pulled on that. So Unicole's like, no, I get it. It's okay. And she said, you can come on after and we'll bitch about this season together. And Danny's like, yeah, I will. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because from what I've seen, Danny doesn't go on tons of podcasts. So I don't know if that's going to stick, but is she going to stop talking crap now? No. She's still throwing Unicole's name out there as like a weak player that could potentially go up on the block, like after the power veto or something, to avoid making more waves. All right, so then Danny checked in with the other Nicole F, in the key bedroom, and these two, they're just swapping stories here. So Nicole shares her combo with Janelle, where she was all like, I wasn't crying because I thought I was going up. So she's like, I don't know that Janelle was being totally sincere with me. It kind of got like a weird vibe from her. I think that goes both ways. Danny was telling Nicole about her conversation with Davon. She said, Day likes you and wants to trust you, but she's kind of unsure if that's gonna work for her because of what happened in season 18. You kind of screwed her over last time, so she's trying to figure out if she should trust you or not. So Nicole's all, oh. So then they start talking about Janelle again and how they don't really trust her. Guess who walks in the room? It's Janelle! So Nicole leaves, and Danny and Janelle finally chat. I'm pretty sure this is like the first one-on-one chat that they've had since they got there. And Danny was like, oh, what happened, like, with the safety suite? Why'd you do that? So Janelle explained why she played in the competition. She wasn't getting, like, the same reassurance from Cody that other people were. So then they were just having like some general conversation about the game so far. Danny's really playing up the whole no one is talking game. Sure. Sure, Jan. But Janelle's asking, well, do you think that Nicole F is working with Cody? And she also asked, do you think that Tyler's working with Cody? And Danny's not giving up the info. She was kind of like, oh, maybe about Nicole. But yeah, she's not giving up this information. I'm sure she will be telling Nicole, Cody, and Tyler about it, though. So Danny says to Janelle, I haven't heard anyone saying your name. She must be, like, deaf to her own voice then. I mean, obviously she's not going to tell Janelle that, but it's just funny that she's like, I haven't heard anyone talking about you. Yeah. Okay, so then Keesha and Memphis, we've been waiting for this conversation. They have a game chat in the lounge, and Memphis is talking about how he would like to see a backdoor happen this week. He doesn't have anyone specific in mind at this point. He did mention Ian later in the conversation as being someone who's, like, silent but deadly. Gross. But he's keeping an eye on him because he's sneaky. And of course, he's going to be worried about Ian when Ian beat Dan. So he also mentioned looking out, you know, keeping an eye on Taylor. He's talking about Tyler, but he thought his name was Taylor. He also called Jackson from last season Jared the other night, and that was hilarious. But yeah, he would have to get Cody on board to do some sort of backdoor plan, and I don't see Cody wanting to make a big move like that week 1. So Memphis is reassuring Keesha, you know what, even if you stay up on the block this week, I think you're going to be able to get the votes over Kevin. I don't know that that's true. But he seems open to the idea of, like, the OG alliance of 4, but he doesn't want to do it right now. He doesn't want to risk doing it too early and making them all targets. Because, like, what if they start that now when Keisha's still up on the block and then she gets voted out because of it? So he doesn't want to risk that. Also, I mean, I think he's also trying to weigh his options with other alliances, but we'll see. So he tells Keesha, keep doing what you're doing. If you pick me for the power veto competition, I'll throw it so you have a better chance to win. He doesn't want to have to stick his neck out there. Let's be real. So, yeah. Cody and Davon had a nice chat. They were talking about how they want to protect each other. They're not going to put each other up. And there was talk of a potential alliance of 4 with the 2 of them, Enzo and Bailey. There's an awful lot of alliances happening here, especially with Cody and Enzo. It's a lot. Yeah, so then it was time for another Danny and Cody info dump. Woo! So Danny is like, okay, here's what's going on now. Everyone thinks that you're working with Nicole Franzel. Because he is. It's pretty obvious. But Cody says, yeah, there's really not much I can do about that. People are onto us already. What am I supposed to do? So then she also brings up people being worried again about there being a guys alliance. I think she even had an idea, like, you and Enzo need to get close to, like, 2 other guys. So just in case you're put up on the block, it'll be against those other guys and not, like, you guys against each other. Then Danny was saying, you know, we should also think about pulling in Day to our group because she thinks she's running stuff down there. Whoa! Does Danny have HOH-itis without even being HOH? She also said that Janelle thinks that she's running stuff down there. So she's saying if we do pull in Davon, we're also going to need to pull in Bailey because those 2 are super close. So then Cody's telling her, yeah, I just talked today and had a great conversation and they want to work with us. So Danny warns, like, okay, that's great, but she's warning him, Day and Bailey are pretty close with Janelle. They're cool with her. So we got to be careful what we say to them because information could very easily travel from us to Davon, to Bailey, to Janelle. So she also let Cody know that Nicole F is known as Rat Cole. So I guess be careful what you tell her too. Damn. All right, in other news, Nicole F. and Ian solidified their Winners Alliance. They're going to be calling themselves the Million Club, and they're just going to keep downplaying their wins to everyone, saying, oh, I got lucky. All right. So last night got a little bit crazy because Kaser had a brain blast. He was talking to Keesha in the key bedroom, and he was like, okay, I just thought of something. What if they're just trying to backdoor Memphis? Right? So then, which they're not, but I mean, if I had the information that Kaser had, I would probably think the same, right? So Keesha brings up how Memphis was saying that he wants to throw the veto if he plays, and Kaser is freaking shooketh. He says Memphis needs to wake up and play the game. He needs to put on his big boy pants, and he needs to play hard for that veto if he's in the competition. And if he wins, he needs to use it on you so that you'll both be safe. He says the four of us already have a target as it is, so we may as well just, like, do what we have to do. So then Kaser's freaking out. He wants to talk to Memphis, like, immediately, but I guess Memphis was up in the have-not room, so he was like, I can't just go up there and get him. So he was going to ask Nicole to get Memphis from the have-not room. Wow! So then Kaser is talking to Janelle, and Janelle's trying to calm him down. She's like, we really need to keep a low profile right now. We can't be, like, going out there and gunning for this veto and using it on Keesha. So Janelle says, if we're picked to play, we need to throw this competition. It's only week 1 and we're safe right now. Like, let's not do something crazy. We're going to have to wait until we get power to really start making moves. So Kaser, he really wants to get Memphis to win the veto and use it on Keesha. There's a lot of ifs in there, like if Memphis is even playing. So he still wants to give it a try, talk to Memphis about it, but he's going to sleep on it and talk to him in the morning. So Kaser says he came into this really just planning on laying low, but Janelle agreed, like, yeah, we're not very good at blending, especially when the two of us are in here together, right? So this morning, Kaser and Memphis were chatting in the kitchen, and Kaser was talking about how he thinks Cody's going after the pairs because he's like, yeah, if I didn't win that safety suite competition, Janelle and I probably would have been up on the block. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Kaser and Keesha, but still, Janelle was in the mix. So Kaser says, if Keesha comes down, you might go up. And Memphis is like, I want to throw it so that Keesha can win. And Kaser says, well, then you're going to go up on the block. Memphis thinks that Ian is going to be a target. I think that's just him wanting Ian to be the target. I don't know. I'm worried at this point Kaser is playing too hard. This is like classic Kaser. He's doing too much right now, and I love watching him play and like figuring everything out, but the reason that he hasn't made it far is because he is not one to just like sit back and like let things happen and maybe lose some friends along the way. He's very much like, I'm gonna dig in, and this is freaking war from like day one. So that's gonna be an issue, and I'm afraid that we're gonna be losing Kaser very early on this season as well, but we'll see what happens. So Memphis is like, I don't even know if Keesha really trusts me because I screwed her over hard in season 10. So bottom line, it seems like Memphis is cool with potentially working with Keesha and with like the 4 OGs, but he doesn't want to be making a move like that and sticking out his neck week 1. He's just not willing to do it. So then a little later, Memphis is talking to Cody. I think they were up on the Sky Lounge at this point, and Memphis tells Cody Kaser is spinning out. So he starts telling Cody about the conversation with Kaser and how Kaser said there's an alliance forming to take out like the 4 OGs, and he was telling Memphis, you need to watch out. And Cody's like, this is the first effing week. Cody, you know what you were planning on doing. So then a few minutes later, Cody reveals, yeah, he did want to put up Kaser because Kaser is kind of getting on his nerves at this point. So then Memphis asks, what do you want me to do with the power veto if I win? And Cody says, I want nominations to stay the same this week. I want to make as few waves as possible. So Memphis agrees not to use the POV if he wins. if he plays. You know, there's so many ifs here. There's so many people. So who knows if he's even going to be playing. But Memphis was also saying that he wants to get together, not this week, but next week, an alliance of 6. And so far, he's feeling like him, Cody, Bailey, Christmas, Tyler, and Danny. And yes, Cody did correct Memphis and tell him, yeah, it's Tyler. Don't call him Taylor to his face, because that'd be really bad. Yeah, so Memphis, damn, he's turning on these OGs. Okay. I can't really blame him, but I don't know if it's going to work out for him. We'll see. So let's talk about Kevin for a sec. Kevin has already been going around kind of like asking for votes, which is always kind of risky pre-veto because you don't want to look like you're losing it. But he's getting a pretty positive response so far. And I gotta say, Kevin is kind of in the dark right now. He thinks that Janelle is like the puppet master and like working with Cody and Tyler. What? But Day and Unicole are not helping the situation because I told you guys that Kevin, Davon, and Unicole have this like triangle of we're going to share all of our information with each other. And last night, I think they had 2 separate conversations where they were kind of going through things that they thought were happening and like bonds that they thought were forming, and it was very off. It was very, very off. So, yeah. We'll see what happens there. But anyway, the Power Veto competition should be happening later. Day is the host. They did draw for the players. We've got Cody, Keesha, and Kevin. And then we've got 3 extras. I think Kevin got house guest choice and chose Enzo, which is interesting. And then I think the other 2 are Ian and Kaser. So if you guys check back later, I'll put the results of the competition in the info box below. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Can you imagine if Kaser won the veto? How crazy that's going to be? Like him deciding if he's going to use it or not on Keesha. Damn. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. And until next time, much love.